Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Yoga Flow 40. Um, Happy Friday to everyone. Today we're going to do a little bit of a combination of a few things. We're going to revisit our downward dog and our modified bridge pose from the other day. We're also going to do a couple more opening moves. This time it's going to be some chest openings. And I just want to point out too, if you do have a big exercise ball, um, one of the best exercises to do for opening the chest completely and like under the arms and this part of the body that gets so tight is just to lay over the ball and let your arms fall to the sides. So we're going to do kind of a version of that on the wall today, just so you can kind of get the feel of what it's like to actually have your shoulders back where they're supposed to be. Sometimes it's a little awkward, sometimes it hurts a little bit, but they are very important for our posture and protecting our spine and our muscles. Our constant forward posture um, has been creating a lot of havoc on the spine, the joints, and the muscles and tendons that try to support it. So yoga is a great way to try to reverse some of the damage that we've done, and also try to use it as a preventative measure from allowing it to get worse over time. So let's just start out in a simple cross-legged pose, and let's roll those shoulders back a few times. And then forward. And then let's let the hands rest down. Close the eyes, keep that back nice and straight. And let's just start by taking a nice few deep breaths here, setting the intention once again on being present for the practice, not worrying about what we have to do the rest of the day, but just taking this time for ourselves and for our bodies and our mind. And each time you inhale, just try to feel that breath deep in the belly and then feel it travel up through the chest and gently exhale through the nose. And then relax. Let's go ahead and take a nice deep breath up, arms overhead. And exhale, release. And one more time, inhale, arms up. And exhale, release. And let's go ahead and keep those sitting bones planted on the floor. Stretch those arms out in front. And remember, just go as far as you can still keep your butt on the floor. And then let's just walk that over to the left side. And then back to center. And over to the right side. And back to center. And let's slowly come up. And let's just take that left hand to the right knee, right hand behind. Nice stretch to that right side. Keeping the back nice and straight, shoulders relaxed. Back to center, right hand to the left knee, left hand behind. And back to center. And let's come onto the hands and knees. Let's take a nice deep breath in, and as you take that deep breath in, just let the belly fall to the floor and lift the head up. And on the exhale, we're just going to arch the back, tucking that chin in. Release. Inhale, dip the belly, lift the head. And exhale, arch the back, tuck that chin in. And release to neutral. Let's go ahead and get a full body extension here. So let's extend that right arm in front and the left leg behind. And you can just gaze softly towards the floor and just focus on reaching out through those fingertips and extending back through those toes. And release. And same thing on the other side. Right leg out, left leg arm in front. And release. And let's just sit back on those heels. Just keep the palms on top of the thighs. Relax the shoulders back. And we're just going to take a couple of nice deep breaths here. Opening that chest. And then just take the hands behind the back and gently interlock the fingers and just pull back. Taking a few nice deep breaths here. Focusing on opening all through this armpit area, through the pecs. And release. And let's go ahead and come back to the hands and knees. And let's just come up onto the feet and hands into downward facing dog. And just relax into it a little bit. The first one of the day always seems a little bit more challenging. So if you need to come down to your knees for a couple seconds and come back up, that's perfectly fine. Just push the weight away from the body, pressing down through the legs. And just take a couple more nice deep breaths here. And then release to the knees. Sit back on the heels. Bring those hands to the knees. Take a couple of deep breaths. What we're going to be doing here is just a simple flow of opening the chest through sitting like this and taking deep breaths, and then moving into our downward dog and opening the back body. So we're just going to do this a few times. Let's come back to hands and knees, back up to downward dog. Back down to the knees, sit on the heels, shoulders back. Nice couple of deep breaths here. And back to the hands and knees, downward dog. Keep breathing through this. back to the knees. One more time, back onto the heels, chest is open. And then one more time, let's come up into our downward dog. And release back down. Sit back on the heels, hands to the legs, shoulders back. And we're going to work on our core move today is going to be working with the planks. Now, the word plank scares everybody, including myself, because they are pretty intense. But we're not going to just jump into it, hold it for 5 minutes, and then call it good. It's more important to work into it so that your form stays correct, because oftentimes people rush through it and they just want to hold it as long as they can, but they're losing proper form, and that can be very harmful to the spine and the hips. So we're not going to do that. We're going to ease into it. So we're going to start in just our normal forward plank on the forearms, and then we're going to go into a side plank, and I'll show you a couple of variations for that. So you don't have to feel intimidated, just do what you can. And a regular practice of these is excellent, not just for strengthening the abs, because that's just half of the core. The whole core involves the lower back, the QL muscles down here. All of these need to be strong just to completely support the back and to have a good posture, right? So the plank moves really work on targeting the whole core and not just part of it. All right, so we're going to come onto our forearms, and then we're just going to step the feet back and come into a plank. Now, the key with planks is to keep your body in as straight a line as you can. You don't want your butt up in the air. That's bad. You don't want to let it hover right over the floor, because either way you're overextending that spine. So you want to just keep it regular. Now, the key when you're doing these is anytime you start, a little bit of shaking is normal, especially in the beginning, because it's using a lot of different muscle groups here. And it's isolating some of the smaller muscle groups that don't get used quite as often. So it's normal to feel fatigued quickly or shaky. That's normal. But anytime you start to lose your posture where you want to stick your butt up or down, then just come down back to the knees, and then come back in when you're ready, okay? And you can work with your breath here too. Try to focus on taking some nice deep inhales and exhales to take your mind off of what you're doing. And then release to the knees. And we're going to do a side version. And now these require a lot of stability and strength in your oblique muscles that run along the side here into the abdomen. And this is an excellent way to build them up. But like with regular plank, it's going to be probably a little challenging and shaky at first when we start out. So this is the position you can always come down to rest, okay? The best way to start doing the side planks is to come up on that elbow and lift the feet. So you're stacking that right foot over the left foot. You can extend your right arm up. And now if this is too much, bend that bottom knee, in this case the left knee, and lift the hips. And then you're doing the same thing. You're just taking the intensity out. Okay? If this is easy peasy for you, you can make it more challenging by coming up to that left hand and then coming up and bringing the feet up and that right arm up. But for today, we're gonna just hang out here, okay? You can also keep that right hand down for a little more support, or work on lifting those hips and getting this secure motion. And then if you feel ready, come up into the side plank. Okay, and I want you just to practice these on your own because they do get easier each time you do them. And you can really quickly build up strength. And the more you feel secure and comfortable doing them, the easier they are, the longer you can hold them, et cetera, et cetera. But for today, I just want to introduce them, and then you can come back and anytime you want, just practice them for 1-2 minutes, and you'd be surprised what a difference it makes. So let's go to that other side, resting on that right arm, lift the hips, you can bring the left arm up, or keep it down. You can keep that right knee bent down, extend that left leg out, and just lift the hip. And you're still going to feel all of that through the side body and the obliques. And then if you want, you can come up to the right hand, extend both legs out, and lift that left arm up. So this is truly just one where you take it to wherever you're comfortable. And you're going to notice too that one side is generally a lot stronger than the other. So don't be weirded out if you can do it on one side and not the other, okay? Let's go ahead and bring it back into a simple cross-legged pose. And we're just gonna take a nice couple of deep breaths here. Anytime you involve the whole body in a movement like that, your heart rate goes up. And while that's great, we want our heart rate to up for cardio and to for the cardio fitness level of it, but we also are not needing to exceed that heart rate in this yoga practice, okay? So we're just gonna come back down for a couple minutes here, take some nice deep breaths. And then we're gonna come into a squat. And if you've been doing this squat with me since the beginning, you can start to challenge yourself a little bit. If you've always kept your hands on the floor, try taking one arm up at a time on the knees, straightening that back so that your spine is in a nice line. Keep those shoulders relaxed back. And you can always come take a break and come out of it completely, or just come down to the hands. Good, and then we're just going to take the hands down, straighten the legs up into a forward bend, and just let the top of the body relax. And then very slowly roll yourself up and step the feet just about shoulder width apart. Come into a nice mountain pose. Shoulders back. Let's inhale the arms up and exhale, release. One more time, inhale, arms up. And exhale, release. And let's go ahead and step those feet out a little bit wider. Hinge from the hips, coming into a nice forward bend. This is the one where you can either bring your hands down to the floor, you can hold on to the elbows, or you can just bend the knees and rest the elbows above the knees. Whatever feels the best for you, each offers just a little bit different focus of a stretch. let's slowly come back up. And we're gonna keep that left foot right where it is and just turn those right toes out. Bend that right knee, let the right arm come down just to the right thigh, and go ahead and extend that left arm up. And with this, to actively keep stretching so you get the full opening of the whole side, keep that left foot pushed into the floor as you reach up through those left fingertips. And then slowly come back up and turn those right toes just at a little bit of an angle. Left toes out. Bend that left knee. Bring that left arm down and extend up with the right. And back to center. And release. Let's walk those feet back together. I'm going to show you a really good wall stretch for the arms or for the front of the body. And I'm going to demonstrate it today in a seated position. You can do it either sitting or standing. The intensity is a lot greater when you're standing. And so we'll do that too, but I just want to show you the best way to start this pose is to sit against a wall, and I like to keep my knees bent and the feet on the floor, and we're gonna bring those arms back. Now, the tricky part with this stretch is to keep that lower back pressed into the wall, right? So I want you to physically press that back into the wall first, and you're gonna need to engage the core and the abs on this, and then bring the arms up. Now, as you can see, for myself, I have a lot of impingement in my shoulders that I am currently seeking treatment for. So for myself, it's hard for me to get my hands and arms flat against the wall right now. So this is a perfect example of, I'm trying to do 50 of these wall angels every day to help open these shoulders back up, okay? So you're gonna keep the arms here. If you can get your arms flat against the wall, that's awesome. If not, don't worry about it. If your arms are out here, that's fine. That's where I was when I started these just a few weeks ago, working with my chiropractor, okay? So as long as that back is pressed into the wall, that's really what we want to focus on. Bring the arms up, and all we're going to do is just extend the arms up and back down. And now what's going to happen, because they look really easy, is that you're going to reach your arms up, and this lower back is going to pull away from the wall. So I want you to resituate yourself. Do it again, arms bent, and then straighten up. And instead of focusing on how uncomfortable it might be or painful, even for me, it is painful through the shoulders, but it's a good pain. I'm working those muscles, okay? Extending up, and just focus on keeping that back pressed in. And if you want to add some breathing to this, we can inhale up, exhale down, inhale up, exhale down. Good. And when you practice these, I find it easier to start practicing in the seated position because it's a little bit easier to keep that back pressed into the wall without putting an extra strain on the legs. But when you're ready to do it against the wall, it's the same principle, right? So we're just going to you're going to walk those feet out in front of you, keeping the knees bent. And how far you go depends on how much it takes for your back to get flush against that wall. So you want this whole lower part of your back pressed into the wall. That's taking the pressure off of this and engaging only this area, which is gonna help isolate the muscles that we're trying to get our shoulders corrected from, okay? So with the feet like this, bring those arms back up and then extend up, down. Inhale up, exhale down. Let's do 3 more of these. And relax. Now, the first few times you do this, your back is gonna probably pop out from the wall every time you raise your arms. So instead of worrying about how many you can do or even how flat you can get your arms against the wall, focus first on keeping that low back in, even if your arms are out here, okay? This movement will come. I've gained a lot of range of motion just in a few weeks. So it is an excellent stretch, and for all of us that do have this forward shoulder, forward head thing going on, this is one of the best ways to just kind of keep fighting that if you must. All right, so let's come back down into a seated position. And we're gonna bring those feet together, get a nice opening for the hip flexors and the hips. Go ahead and just hold on to those toes. And just imagine that something is weighing your legs down. So you're actively pressing your legs down and taking deep breaths to relax. Go ahead and come forward a little bit towards your toes, and then that'll increase the depth of the stretch in the hips. And then come back up. Let's go ahead and come back into a simple cross-legged pose. And we're gonna do a little bit more with the chest and shoulder opening. So we're gonna extend those arms out to the side. We're gonna turn the palms forward, and we're just gonna pulse the arms straight back very gently. Now it's important that you keep your shoulders down and back when you're doing this. And then this helps strengthen those big lat muscles that go down through the back. A couple more times. Good. And then we're going to keep that right hand on the right knee. Keep this left side planted down and stretch that left arm up towards the right side. Take some really deep breaths here, and we're going to feel that releasing. Since we did those planks and worked the obliques today, we want to counteract that by giving them a nice gentle stretch so they don't cramp up, and then it's easier to do them again soon. Left hand down, right arm up. And come back up. And go ahead and come back down onto the back. We are going to work on that bridge pose again. And remember, you can always do this to begin with. If you don't feel like your hips or your lower back is stable or it hurts, you can use a block or a pillow and just set it right under the small of your back, right on top of that, right under the sacrum, and just practice hanging out just like this. That'll help strengthen these muscles, okay? Otherwise, you can keep your hands, palms down, pressed into the floor. Just lift the hips and the thighs up And as you're doing this today, I want you to start focusing on pushing up through the thighs and the hips, and then pressing those palms down. And keep breathing through this. And then we're going to slowly come back down. Just take a couple of deep breaths here and pay attention to your lower back, your abs, your hips here, even into your thighs, and just kind of take a note of what is you feel like is pulling the most. Where do you feel the tension? Where do you feel the pressure coming from? We're going to come back into it, and then this time, if you want, you can interlock. You could stay here or interlock the hands and press the hands down into the ground as you lift up through the front of the body. And then release back down. Good. And we're going to hang out here for a minute, and then I want you just to take your palms and press them gently into your thighs, and you take the heel of your hands and just kind of press and alternate. All this is doing is stretching out some of these ab muscles that were worked so that they don't cramp up. Good. And now we're going to move into a modified plow pose. A full plow pose is like that, okay? And if you can do that, that's awesome. But what we're going to do today is just kind of work up to that. We're building a base for that. Okay, the benefits of plow pose are it really stretches out that spine. It feels really good once you're stable in it, but it's one of those that you don't want to overdo it or rush into it if your body's not ready, because you can damage yourself and pull some muscles, and we don't want to do that. So we're going to start just by pressing those hands into the floor, lifting the knees, and then just lift up with the butt, okay? Because sometimes if you haven't done this ever or for a long time, the muscles are untrained. So we need to try to train them. So for a few breaths, I want you just to lift that butt up and then feet back down. So lift, down, lift, down. Let's do 2 more of these. And then rest for a second and see how your back feels. Okay, if it's pulling, then you don't want to go any further. Just keep doing those a few times, a minute here and there throughout the day can really make a big difference, because it's not a matter of being strong or weak. It's just a matter of training those muscles to do something they're not used to doing. Okay, so this time, let's just lift the feet and then lift up onto your hands if you can, just to get that back or that lower back and butt off the floor. There you go. Let's do 2 more of those. 1 more. Good. And we're going to stop there today with that, because I've seen it happen in classes where people try to get into the full pose before their bodies are ready, and it's not good. So that's one that we want to ease into, but it is a very beneficial pose. So practice just lifting your hips and your butt up, and then once you do that, try to focus on straightening the legs. And our ultimate goal is to get the legs all the way back. So next week, we're going to do this again, and we're going to do it with our feet on the wall so that we can see what it's like to kind of use that wall as an aid to walk our feet down. Okay. And today we're also going to do a legs up the wall pose as our kind of our relaxation pose, restorative pose. And again, there's a lot of different ways you can do this. Today I'm going to do it without any pillows or bolsters, but I highly recommend using them if you need them. And the tricky part with this pose is to get the butt flush up to the wall so you can extend your legs up. This pose is awesome for circulation. If you have poor circulation anywhere in your body, you're gonna enjoy this pose. It also is extremely relaxing and restorative for the entire body. So we're gonna start by scooting that butt up to the wall as much as we can. And then you just kind of have to wiggle your butt up and get it as close to the wall as you can. And then just extend the legs up. Now, you might think this is dumb or weird and it's not doing anything, but it's doing a lot, okay? And with the arms, you can either keep them on the knees or on the thighs, on the belly, to the sides, whatever you want. And just breathe. And if you feel like you need to scoot up a little bit more, just use your elbows and kind of inch up towards the wall. And if you do feel like you need more support in this lower back, that's where you can take and place a blanket or a block there. You can also put a pillow under your head if that's more comfortable for you. I'm going to stay here for about another minute, just taking those nice deep breaths. Try to relax the shoulders into the floor. And then we're going to just bend the knees and slide the feet down. And we're just going to stay here for a few seconds and then roll onto your side and then push yourself up, okay? Now, we're going to eventually come back down to our backs for a minute, but I want you to just sit because sometimes when you do that switch, you can get a little lightheaded or dizzy. So we're going to pause to sit just for a minute here. And then if you're not feeling any lightheadedness or dizziness, come down to the back. If you are, just stay in seated pose. And let's just go ahead and extend those legs out, arms to the sides, shoulders down. And then bring the hands and let them rest on the belly. Let's just start to focus on that rise and fall of the belly in your hands. Let the belly expand and push the hands out on each inhale, and let the belly empty completely down into the spine on each exhale. We're going to keep that left hand on the belly and bring the right hand to the chest. And just try to feel the breath move like a gentle wave, starting in the belly, coming up through the chest, and out through the nose. And we're going to keep that right hand on the chest and bring that left hand up to the forehead. And just continue to feel that rise and fall of the belly and the chest. And let that left hand relax the forehead. Release any tension between the eyes.
So you do first, and then another girl will be massaging you. Then 1 hour, maybe.
We're going to take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, just release those arms and start to bring the feet together, bend the knees, and let's roll ourselves back up. And come back into a simple cross-legged pose. Go ahead and close those eyes. And let's inhale the arms up and exhale, release. And inhale, arms up. Exhale, palms together. Bring the hands to the heart. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Namaste.